usually what happens sometimes is the first time, so to speak, the pads go on. I thought they did a really good job. They're challenging them in a lot of ways, but mentally, their toughness and their emotional toughness is a big deal. You got to be able to handle the situations and things, and so the competitive nature of what we're doing, I think, hopefully you start to see today.
Had a good look at Will Pollock, obviously. What do you like about what he brings to the table here with that wide receiver?
Will is he's got some obviously some natural skills, but I think he's really quick. He's a strong kid. Not just a slot receiver. He's a guy that can be dynamic in a lot of different spots, but I think for the most part, he's just well-rounded. I think he's a really smart, tough football player that I think's got a really bright future. A lot of those guys, obviously, they're learning a lot of things. They're learning a system that's a little bit different to them, but I think that for the most part, guys have got the intelligence to pick it up and play a lot faster. There's no depth on those things. Yes, he might get a few more reps today, but if that's the case, then on Thursday or on Saturday, it's the other way around. We try not to over-evaluate where the guys are. We got to do a little bit better job of making sure that the reps are a little bit more balanced at times, but we try to stay out of saying, hey, who's with the twos, who's with the ones, who's with the threes. By nature, obviously, as we get a little bit further in the spring, I would say that would be something we'll probably hone in on. But right now, we're trying to really kind of say, hey, we want to try to make it as even as we possibly can. I think that that's where we'll go back in and evaluate. I'm not positive how it worked today, but we'll try to stay out of that. Who's getting the most reps with the ones, twos, and threes, especially the quarterback position. I think Braden, as much as anything, has a great grasp of the offense. He's a guy that tirelessly studies it, and when you're obviously that position in particular, if there's a 20-hour rule as you get in the spring ball, and there's an 8-hour rule in the offseason. At the quarterback position, that's a unique spot. And if you are using 8 hours and you're using 20 hours, you're probably going to be way behind. So I think for those guys at that spot, the guys that are willing to, especially in the offseason and even in the spring ball, really work at the things that they're doing, there's a lot on it. I think more than anything, I think he's a really intelligent kid that's picked it up and has really worked at understanding and grasping the whole concept of what we're doing.
Luke, Matt told us last week that he wants to kind of have the same impact that Ivan Pace did for you guys at CT last year. Do you see any comparisons physically, or what his grasp of the defense?
I think it's still early to tell, but I think that that's a great guy to kind of look at and say, hey, a guy that came into a new system that was pretty dynamic and really aggressive. If they can take anything, everybody's different. You can study and learn from guys just to see what they've done and how successful they were. But if anything they take from a guy like Ivan Pace, it's how aggressive he played, how instinctual. It's hard to say instinctual, but how sound in some ways, but really aggressive. There's some times to take chances, and when you know what and why you're doing it, you can be a little bit more aggressive. You can take some of those chances like you did. So I think it's a good one to study off of. I just think it's hard to evaluate right now for us. He's watching a lot of what maybe Ivan did for us. So I think it's really great part of that kind of look and try to model it.
Talk to you about the way Mike Tressel operates as a coach. He's able to scheme up defenses.
Well, I think first and foremost, I think when Mike came to Cincinnati with us, he came into a really difficult situation. And I don't mean that. Some would say, well, how's a difficult situation? He inherited a group of guys that had like 6 guys drafted. He ended up 2 corners, but he inherited a situation where he really had to earn the trust and respect of the players. We had a guy that left and had done a phenomenal job, and everybody loved him. I think when you walk into that, sometimes it's a little bit more of a difficult situation than you think. And he walked in there and was himself, didn't try to be somebody he wasn't, earned the respect of those guys, and obviously it showed along. And so I think for me, more than anything, walking in here, I knew that that's who he is. He's going to first and foremost earn the respect of those guys. They understand about them. When you do that, then I think the guys in particular can buy into things that you're doing. And then, obviously being a great teacher, because we can all come up with things that are really good and look great on the board and spend a lot of time doing it, but if you can't teach and get those guys to be able to understand and execute it, then it really doesn't do us any good. So I think the combination of earning the respect of those guys and being a great teacher can give us a chance.
Give me your early impression of what Hunter has kind of brought to the field.
So Hunter's done a great job. I think we're moving him around a bit, and some of the, maybe some of the different stuff we play with the faster plays in different positions. And that's where the challenge comes with a lot of those guys. There's very few guys that are just kind of, hey, you're just a one-position guy. If you teach me a one-position guy, then that's when you struggle down the long run. And in the long haul, this is a long season. And so for most things we're trying to do is just make sure the guys can understand concepts. He's a guy that's got some versatility for us to play a little bit closer to the ball and also can play in the back end a little bit deeper. So I think for him in particular, it's just getting comfortable to find the place he fits best because he does so many things really well.
Staying in the safety room, I know this is a safety. Braden Moore, the true freshman.
Yeah.
Looks like he's getting some work in the slot and maybe working with the corners a little bit.
Yeah, we're trying to find ways to get guys on the field. And I think those guys that come in early, more than anything, they might not be in the perfect spot, but you want to get them out there on the field. Let them get some comfort level, understand the speed of the game, the physicality of the game. So we kind of moved him from safety in the sense that we've had I'd say maybe a few more safeties in that room that he might not get as many reps. So we moved him out there, playing a little bit more than nickel position, and really more so just to get him on the field, let him get the feel of the speed of the game, the physicality, get a little bit of that. You come in early for a reason. You don't come in early to have to sit on the side, and so some of those younger guys were moving to different spots just to get them a little bit more reps on the field.
How do you see things differently on day 3 compared to day 1, or did things change at all for you from a coaching perspective?
No, it does. I mean, I think you're really starting to see how guys can handle things. And some would say, well, you're looking to see the physicality because you put pads on. I think that's like 4th on the list. I mean, if you were out here in the spider practices, they still become pretty physical. I think when you start to see this, you start to see the mental side of things, the toughness side of things, the emotional side of things as you get to day 3, 4, and 5. 1 and 2, it's still new. It's still just by nature the energy. And now you get to really kind of see as you add a little bit some more things offensively and defensively, who can handle those things, because that's where you really start to see the guys that are going to have success, especially early on in the program. Those guys that can handle it and use it in the right way, emotionally and things like that as they walk on the field, especially in day 3. Day 3, 4, and 5, I think you get to know a lot more about your guys, even though you do it towards the end. And so that's why I kind of say that we're going to continue to challenge these guys and push them, because we're going to find out a lot more about them as people that will tell us how the success we'll have in the long run.
CJ Williams got into it with the defense there. Did you see what happened on that, and is that just a product of the intensity of practice?
Part of the emotion that we're talking about, that you got to have emotional toughness. It's, nobody's going 15 yards, so I think those are those things that it's teaching moments for us that we have an opportunity to kind of learn and teach from, and we're going to push these guys, and we're going to have the energy and the emotions that are really high, because we can't simulate what it's going to be like in front of 85,000 people, a couple million people on TV. So we want to make these situations as competitive and as emotional as possible, because it's a train. You got to train it. Emotional toughness is a skill, and so maybe we didn't handle it the best way, but you got to have some of those situations so that you can teach and learn from them.
You saw from that video yesterday and until you were watching in practice, you still get really hands-on with the defensive line, jumping with the specials that you lead. Is that your favorite part of the job still, just hands-on?
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me to do is not. So I usually stay out of the linebacker room because I can't keep my mouth shut in there. And I try not to do too much of the D-line because I have a little bit too much input and know just maybe a little bit too much to make myself dangerous. But I also, it's just, I'm getting to know these guys and making sure they understand the emphasis of what it is that we're looking at. I'm never going to just see them standing out there and, charting things or something like that. Now it is, whether it's offense or defense, or most importantly, special teams, because it kind of ties the whole. That's where I'm going to be hands-on everything we do.
You talked about the safety and having a lot of numbers, but one guy that made an interception today was Preston Zachman. Just what have you seen from him and just how he can work within that safety?
It's another guy that's playing a couple different spots, so the challenge for him is a lot more even mentally as well. And so what we want to be able to see is, does it slow you down? If all of a sudden we're asking you and challenging you to do maybe more than one thing, can you still play fast? Can you still have those instincts and be aggressive? So it's great to see that a guy that is playing a couple different spots, that when the ball comes his way, he has the opportunity, he's still under control enough to let his instincts happen and play. And so he's got some different abilities for us. Another guy that we're going to challenge and move around. I'd say the depth of the safety room is pretty good, so we got to find more ways to get those guys in the field, defensively, not just special teams wise.
At this stage of the year, are you sort of protected of
No.
his workload?
No, we're not protecting anybody's workload. I think more than anything, that's what we want to make sure. I think, obviously he got a little dinged up yesterday. they basically said he can't go, and we said we'll get him out here and we'll make him a part of it. So we'll have him do what he can do. And I think more than anything, we're not trying to put guys out there that can't defend themselves. But the idea that, hey, you're a part of this team, you're going to be in everything possible, and nobody's workload is overdue. And we're trying to find out where guys' edges are and then be able to push them past it. And there's a fine line between injured and hurt, and he's right now injured a little bit, but I think more than anything, he's going to be out here and proud of what he came out here today and tried to go through the bags and the different things. And we weren't going to put him in team stuff, but anything that we could push him to kind of continue to do and be a part of, we were going to. So nobody that we want to try to hold back workloads. I shouldn't say that. There's a couple guys that are coming off of ACLs that we are trying to chart and checking on the workload. But everybody else, man, this is an opportunity. This is a time not just to prove to us, just because we're a new crew, to prove to your teammates and yourself. And I think that's where that toughness side of things that we know we've got to do a better job of kind of shows through.
You mentioned Saturday with Jackson Aikman, some talent that he can play a role in some of this. What they got from LA and just what stands out about it?
We're going to continue to see. I think that it's hard to make an early impression of all those guys. I mean, it's one thing to play with the ball in your hand. As we get going into this and into some live situations, I want to see how guys play without the ball. I think that's where guys can separate themselves. Tailbacks by nature are used to having the ball in their hand. There's only one ball, and the ball's not going to be in their hand all the time. So those guys that have some ability to do other things will be the guys that you see out there a lot more. Hopefully, Cade is one of those guys. We'll get some opportunities to see what he can do with the ball in his hand. I really want to evaluate what guys can do without the ball.
Still feeling like a little more fired up than you've seen in other times in that red zone scouting drill. You like seeing that emotions start coming out?
I think that's what you're kind of sensing, the competitive nature of everybody. And as guys earn the respect and trust, I think that a lot of those things start to show. The natural stuff behind it. So I've seen the competitive nature. Believe me, maybe you guys haven't seen it. Some of those MAC drills and some of the workouts that we've done. What I've been really impressed with more than anything is not just the way he throws the football, how he studies, and how he's worked. It's his competitive spirit, his energy to do all things that are asked of him. Good?
Thank you.